Hello and welcome to WhatTheBuck.net. This is Old School coming to you live from Valrico, Florida. I know it's been a long time, YouTube. I apologize for that, but it is what it is in the offseason. It's been a crazy offseason, and now that everything is back in order, it has been a crazy first day with the players reporting back to camp, and it's been no different here in Tampa Bay as Buccaneers continue to file in the doors of one Buc Place, one after the other, both young and old. And Mark Dominic was able to do a press conference today. A couple of things to keep you up to date and get you aware of what's going on, though the media here has done a tremendous job all day, from the folks that we tend to like a lot, like Pewter Report and Joe Buckfan, all the way to the beat writers. Everyone has been ablaze on Twitter. So if you're following these guys on Twitter, you've been keeping abreast of everything that's been going on real time. A couple of high points: Mason Foster, linebacker out of University of Washington, signed a 4-year contract, and Hardy, the tight end, our final overall draft pick, also signed a contract. So we got 2 of our 8 draft picks under contract. Adrian Claiborne, as I understand, was in the building today working out. There don't appear to be any holdout issues or any craziness like that, which I wouldn't have expected anyway, to be honest. A lot of the pressure seems to be coming around free agency. Now, the Bucs were very active, and in Mark Dominic's presser, he discussed Shelton Quarles and Dennis Hickey going through and looking at undrafted college free agents. There were a number of those brought in. I would tell you the names, but I don't have all of the names yet. They're getting signed regularly. He says he expects to get 15 to 20 people from that pool to fill out the 90-man roster that he'll bring to training camp. Now, training camp, open to the public here in Tampa, opens up Friday night, 5:15 practice. I believe there's 9 practices, including an evening practice at Ray J. That schedule's out on Buccaneers.com. Should be a great opportunity for you to get in there. Now, the bloodletting across the league has been tremendous, and that's another thing that's going to make this free agency period very, very unique. Guys like Marion Barber, Roy Williams, and Leonard Davis, Todd Heap, Derek Mason, Willis McGahee, really significant contributors over the past that people can go and add to their team should they want to. But I think the thing that people need to focus on is, and if you haven't done it yet, go listen to Mark Dominic's press conference. It's on Buccaneers.com now. You can go listen to it at your leisure. It's about 22 minutes long, and Mark does his normal stellar job of presenting the information. Now, the big topic of discussion in this press conference is Barrett Ruud, middle linebacker for the Buccaneers, who is either loved or hated by people here in the Tampa Bay area. Seemingly, ex-football players or current football players think the guy's a stud. He's, I guess, 4 years with over 100 tackles, the quarterback of the defense. Rondé Barber, in an interview today on WDAE, called him the Josh Freeman of the defense. Everyone knows the Mike is your quarterback of the defense. But the press and a lot of the fans feel as though he makes too many tackles downfield. He's not a quote-unquote thumper. They want Ray Lewis, even though Ray Lewis is kind of not a good analog in this particular situation. Now, in the press conference, there were a number of questions directed specifically at the Barrett Ruud situation. Mark Dominic did a good job of deflecting them. Now, the way he deflected them was to talk about the fact that he got Mason Foster under contract. He talked about the blueprint that the Buccaneers have about building through the draft. Now, a lot of people have taken this to mean that Barrett Ruud's time in Tampa is over. I don't happen to take it that way, but it's real freaking close if you listen to the press conference. In fact, he goes back later and makes a number of other comments about the fact that agents and players alike know that the Bucs will play young players, right? And if he was really concerned, and one of the theories that I had was that given the truncated free agency and truncated training camp schedule, they hadn't had enough time to get another young player up to speed enough to take over that Mike linebacker spot, regardless of whether it was someone who was under contract now or a guy like Mason Foster or Tyrone McKenzie from USF. His comments, which were really good actually, spoke to last year. Guys like Ted Larson, LeGarrette Blount, Desmond Briscoe. Ted Larson went from unsigned to starting guard in 4 weeks. And he attributes that to the coaching staff, their ability to bring along young players. So it could well be the fact that they are prepared to move along without Barrett Ruud. I think from a strategy perspective, by going ahead and signing these young guys behind him, they are essentially driving down his value in the market because his current team, who ostensibly should be the team that wants him the most because they know the most about him, is showing that they don't need him that much, right? It's supply and demand. So if they can get Barrett Ruud back for a decent price and not a long-term contract, extremely lengthy contract, I still think the Buccaneers make a move to get Barrett Ruud. I think they're a better team with him on the roster. Does that mean he's your starter after 8 weeks? I don't know. If Mason Foster is that much better or Tyrone McKenzie steps up and those guys can outplay Barrett at that Mike linebacker spot, then they should play. But that's the way it is for every guy on the entire team. Now that brings me to another comment that was made during the actual press conference. He was asked about unrestricted free agents, other teams cutting people. Who do you bring them in? Do you bring them in to backfill on your roster? And Mark Dominic was quite clear. He said free agency should be used to fill a starting role, right? If you're going to go get an unrestricted free agent or obviously a restricted free agent from another team, they should come in to fill a starting role. If you want to backfill your roster, if you want to get backups on your team, you do that with the draft or with undrafted free agents, etc. You do not go and make a big play, a big splash to get someone in here in that particular capacity. So he did defer again. He has high expectations for Foster McKenzie, so that kind of speaks directly to the Barrett Ruud situation. Now he was asked about guys like Reggie Bush or Nick Barnett who've expressed an interest apparently in coming to play for Tampa, which is ironic considering that a lot of people back when Raheem and Mark Dominic took over said that no free agent would ever want to come to Tampa, but he quickly pointed out that would be illegal. He's not allowed to talk to those folks yet, but when he can, he will. Now, a question was thrown out about Cadillac Williams, which has been a discussion point regularly about whether Cadillac would still be here with the Buccaneers. He's gained a lot of prominence in that third down back for his ability to block, and then some people are pulling in the Michael Clayton parallel. We don't pay him to block. We pay him to run the ball. Well, he ran the ball for 3.5 yards a carry last year, even considering the fact that the offensive line was garbage for the first 6 weeks. But if we go past that, the discussion about Cadillac says that he's in the same agency, which is CAA apparently, as Josh Freeman, Davin Joseph, Jeremy Trueblood, and Tim Crowder. So the Bucs have a good relationship with that agency. He's spoken to a number of the agents there. I think these free agents are going to go check the market, see what their value is, check with the home team, see what their value is there, and make a call. They're not going to be able to do a whole lot of dating. Another question was asked about Brian Price. A lot of noise has been made about Brian Price with his injury with the cracked pelvis. A lot more noise was made when he showed up at IMG looking significantly overweight for his position, right? Obviously, who am I to make fun of someone's weight? But there was concern, and in fact, Peter Report reported that he may start out on the PUP list because he wasn't really running until July. Mark Dominic said no, he is not a candidate to be on the PUP list. After what they saw him move around, he needs to get in condition, but he should be ready to go come the beginning of the season. One point that was made that was very, very interesting was that the CBA is not final, right? While it has been agreed in principle, the players have not recertified. All of the I's are not dotted, the T's are not crossed. So figuring out how the money gets allocated across against the cap or the floor is going to be very difficult to do until they do that. So that's an update. It was a busy first day. If you're not following these folks on Twitter, please make sure you do. If you follow us on Twitter at WhatTheBuck, you can see the folks that we follow, and these guys are doing a hell of a job reporting. I will be live out at training camp Friday night at 5:15. And getting as much information as I can to you guys as rapidly as I can. Remember our shows right now. We're still in the off-season schedule, so we'll have a show Thursday night. We had 9 weeks in a row with player interviews. If you haven't checked out the podcast, please do so. And we'll be back as regularly as possible. If you have any questions, post them up here or send them to questions@whatthebuck.net. Thanks for tuning in.